All right, so that should be going. Okay, so this is gonna be kind of the same as my other videos, but a little bit different, right? So this is kind of half a response to this dumbass list of comments, and I'm gonna explain why, right? Like I'm not just gonna insult you and dismiss all the criticisms, right? But like still, you're not making any sense. But at the same time, right, since you bothered to give me the list of your complaints for Guilty Gear Strive, I'm going to actually address what you say in this Reddit thread, piece by piece, right? Summarize what I talked about in the video because I'm not going to repeat myself. And I find it interesting how a lot of the stuff that I talk about in the video, you talk about in this Reddit thread here, assuming this is you, right? Because you linked me to this Reddit thread. This what was it, fucking Shin Virgil guy or whatever, linked me to this Reddit thread. I don't know if I don't care if this is the same person or not. Like you linked me to this anyway, but I'm gonna talk about how can you actually fix Guilty Gear Strive and make it into a game that's worth playing, right? Because apparently I'm not being constructive enough for Dosuke and the team. I'm not sucking their dicks hard enough, so I need to be more constructive. So this is my attempt of telling you basically everything else that I talked about in the fucking video that I made previously on this topic. But I guess in more detail now that the beta came out and we saw the game and everything. So I'm just going to read through this thread and then go over why a lot of these suggestions are missing the point of what's wrong with the game. Some of the suggestions are just straight up bad. They show a lack of knowledge of how game balance works, especially for this particular fucking, game or this particular series, as well as just like why those are even problems, right? Because part of the reason why you even have complaints like this is because of the changes they made to the game. But that's enough preface, right? Like the 10 people who clicked on this video already lost 5 of them because get to the point. I don't have an attention span, right? So I forgot to mention adding a fast pace and challenging survival mode. Let's not talk about modes. It'll be cool to have a story mode that's worth the shit and survival mode and all this other stuff, but it's a beta, and I don't expect all of the game's modes to be represented in a beta. So modes and all this other stuff don't matter. But here's the stuff that does matter. Problem A. Turtle play or overly defensive play, just keeping distance, defending, and waiting for opponent to attack, is still an issue which affects the pace of the game and makes gameplay versus many people boring. Wow, boring. All right, so strike one, right? My main complaint in my Guilty Gear 2020 is lame video was that the game was boring. It looked boring. And now you're saying, well, I mean, playing the game is boring. Oh, you mean like I said, if you're going to go out of your way to, say that my opinions are stupid and just, all this crap, voice your concern and move on, just shut up. You're just delusional, just have faith and blah 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 blah. You have stupid opinions, right? If you're gonna say all this gay shit to me, can you not just turn around and go on Reddit and either say or agree with posts that have the exact same complaints that I'm making, right? It's literally the exact same shit. So what are you actually complaining about, right? Orally defensive neutral play gets boring to play or watch quickly. Wow, like I said 5 months ago. This method of boring gameplay can be used by almost any character. Some matchups are terrible and boring to watch, like Potemkin versus Axel, just like how Potemkin versus Sin in Rev 2. Now, for starters, I'm not getting the Potemkin versus Sin in Rev 2 matchup being boring, right? All because a matchup is defensive doesn't necessarily mean that it's boring. And this is something that you hint at when you start going at Sam Show. Where do you start bitching and moaning about Samurai Showdown being fucking boring, right? Should I even be bothered to look for that? Over here saying that fucking Guilty Gear Strive in its current state is better than all new 2D fighters. Like, do I even need to address that? You're saying it's better than Dragon Ball Fighters. You're saying that it's better than every 2D fighter. Like, the game in its current state that people don't even like. The Japanese players don't even like this fucking game in its current state. But this game is better than all the 2D fighter. What does that tell you about the state of 2D fighting games? I've been making videos talking about how 2D fighting games are progressively becoming just more and more shit, more and more dumbed down. And then you're just like, well, all the other 2D fighters are shit compared to this game that people don't even fucking like. And now you know why. Because they keep casualizing these games, removing all the depth, all the skill, giving you shit like crosshead battle. You know, I don't even hate that game. A lot of these games I don't even fucking hate, but they are boring. They are shallow. It's becoming harder and harder to take these games seriously, just altogether. Oh yeah, here it is. Like Sam shows a bad and boring game. Try defending it. All right. Well, I guess I'll try defending it right now, right? Because we're going to talk about defensive play. So the thing about Samurai Showdown and defensive play in general in games is that different games, right? Follow me. Different games with different identities have different types of pacing. Samurai Showdown is a very slow, methodical game where a couple of hits kills you. One mistake can be 70% of your life. That's the type of game Samurai Showdown is. Now, I haven't played the game still, and I wasn't good at the originals. I never grew up with them. I only play like the Samurai Showdown games on a PSP emulator, so I can't really tell you a lot about how Samurai Showdown plays competitively or its depth or any of its nuances. It's a pretty straightforward kind of game, but from what I've heard people say, even like the new one, the Samurai Showdown reboot, even that game is kind of simplified and streamlined compared to the older games, which says a lot that they streamlined even that game compared to the older ones when it is not a very complicated game at all. But that's what Samurai Showdown is. So what they did with Guilty Gear Strive, and this is what I was complaining about 5 months ago. This is what I've been complaining about this entire time. They made the game a lot slower, right? Because they're trying to de-emphasize aerial movement. So they gave you a slower air dash, but in exchange you can attack out of it sooner. They took out air combos when they took out air recovery, something that you praised, right? This Shin Virtual guy, that's what you praised, Shin Virtual. You said, that they took out air recovery because it made the game feel floaty, right? As well as one of your complaints up here, or whatever, that you from 5 months ago saying that the game is fucking floaty because it has air recovery in it. I'm not gonna look for it right now because I actually want to address this point, right? While it's still on my mind. So they took that out. So they're obviously going for a much more ground based game, but at the same time the attacks in the game, like we saw from the beta, do an insane amount of damage. Like there's no reason in hell Soul's Wild Throw should be doing like a third of a character's life. It's fucking Wild Throw. What the fuck? It's not Potemkin Buster. Like what the fuck? Right? So because of that, like they're going for more defensive gameplay where like making some mistakes does like a lot of big damage. And since we have like less movement options in the air, right, or like it's more de-emphasized in the air, characters can still double jump, characters can still, do their air dashes and their back dashes. Like they still have their aerial options. But if you look at this game and you compare it to like Rev 2, characters they don't get shot up in the air as high. They don't go up in the air as high because they don't have that many options that has them like go up in the air a lot. It's because they don't have air recovery anymore, so they can't like tech up into the air and go high because that's not there. They still have their high jumps and stuff, but they obviously want to keep it more on the ground, so it's kind of more in the middle. If you've played a game like say Under Night, In Birth, STD, sexually transmitted disease late or whatever, right? If you played that fucking game with a stupid ass name, then you have an idea of the type of pacing, the screen size, like just the overall space on screen that the characters occupy, what they're trying to do with the game. And it's more or less the same as Rev 2 in terms of just screen height and everything, but characters just aren't going up into the air because we're de-emphasizing combos and we're de-emphasizing aerial combos because we just took that out because you can't do air juggles and shit and you can't air tech out of it. So it's like a combo. It's got like Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 5's fucking combo system with the juggles, in a sense, right? And you have people just kind of like fly in the air and you catch them and do like ground bounce loops and shit on them with sham show damage, but it's kind of wrapped in the skin of an anime fighter. And the reason why it's more boring, the reason why it's more defensive, right, is because they just took out a lot of offensive options in the game. So another thing that they changed in the beta for Strive is Yellow Roman Cancel is now replacing Dead Angle, the move that you praised the removal of, because you said because of the Yellow Roman Cancel option select, oh my god, Dead Angle attacks were stupid. So we have to take that out. It didn't work versus sub characters and blah 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 blah. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I'm not even accusing you of lying or being bad at the game, because I can just dismiss you outright and say, well, you probably suck at Xrd anyways. Who the fuck cares what you think? I'm going to go ahead and take that at face value, right? But this universal get the fuck off me solution to the issue, can you even bait that out? Can you even bait out the new fuck you Roman cancel dead angle bootleg that they put into the game? Because what they've essentially done is that if you hit somebody and they have enough meter to do that, they can just push you off, and it's like a burst. As long as they're in block zone, they can push you off with this 50-meter fucking burst, and fuck all happens, right? Like from what I've seen, I've yet to see anybody bait it out. Now you could bait it out. Somebody might have already done that and I haven't looked it up, right? So I don't know every single thing there is about the game. So I'm not necessarily discounting it based on the fact that it exists, but the way that it functions, especially since Roman cancels in this game have a hitbox on them now, they operate as an attack. It's a lot easier to get somebody off of you, and that discourages people from getting in and doing a lot of pressure. Another thing that they did, another thing that I complained about in my video, right? The video that you said was lame, and I don't have any valid critique of the fucking game, right? I talked about how they nerfed Gatlings, and so since P's and K's can only Gatling into each other, and we can't do like PK slash heavy slash anymore. They took that out. They nerfed block strings in the game, right? Because they did that, you can't be as aggressive on block and do as good of a block string, or even convert it into a combo as easily. Now, I've watched some videos, namely the one from Lord Knight. He plays these games professionally and stuff, so I think listening to Lord Knight isn't exactly the most controversial thing. Oh, how could you listen to Lord Knight? He's only like one of the most revered anime players of all time. How could you possibly listen to him? Right, but he talked about how like the motivation behind Atlas. I'm about to say Atlas. Obviously, I'm a Weaver, but Arxis. From Arxis, nerfing the Gatlings to try to like streamline the Gatlings and remove stuff, basically remove the fluff Gatlings that people weren't using. And the reason I disagree with that, and this comes to like game design philosophy, right, is that by removing all of these different possible Gatlings, I mean, yeah, you're kind of pushing the player in the direction of these are what the good Gatlings are, but like let's say you're a brand new player, you pick up the game and you just start pressing buttons, right? I'm gonna mash my buttons because I'm a filthy casual. If you reduce the amount of strings that the crowd can't that you're removing the moves that they can do, what they're going to end up doing is just doing bad pressure until they figure out what pressure strings they're allowed to do. So what the PK slash heavy slash format allowed people to do was just kind of have some basic go-to strings, even if they weren't like the best block strings imaginable, that they can just use as a block string. But now you're supposed to just do, punch punch or punch punch kick. And you got to get your close slash so you can get that nice plus frames or whatever. But you can't like PK slash into a slash move. You can't do that anymore. And I can only ask like, well, why? Because I get that, I understand the motivation according to what Lord Knight said in his video about it, but it didn't really make sense in general to me. Like, why would you make that type of change? But in Street Fighter, you can't just do light punch, light kick, medium punch, medium kick. It's not Marvel. You can't do Marvel strings in a regular Street Fighter game, and that's kind of what they're doing with the strings in this game. Is kind of like a bootleg between Guilty Gear strings and Street Fighter strings, and how they're making it. And because of that, and add to that the high damage, you get this defensive gameplay where no one wants to get hit, because if they get hit, they instantly die. Whenever they get someone in block stun, they can't immediately open them up because they have to like tap and shit, and it makes it hard for people to do that because of how the strings work in this fucking game. You tap somebody, and if you start doing a block string, they can just do the YOLO Roman cancel, be like, get the fuck off me, bro. And since like I don't know how you bait it out yet, because I know how you bait out a dead angle, but I don't know how you bait this out. We don't have the yellow Roman cancel, the 25% version that gives us the or I do a projectile, and then I yellow Roman cancel, and now I'm running past my fireball. Here I come, do all my pressure. You can't do that anymore. So by reducing the amount of options players have, it creates more static gameplay. Kai isn't shooting out stun edge and then yellow Roman canceling and then running towards you anymore, because that option is gone. Air dashes are slower on startup now, and I'm not really sure how they want you to use that. I have theories behind what's good about it, and I'll go into that later in this video, talking about like, because I can accept the fact that this is not a Guilty Gear game in the traditional sense. Guilty Gear is no stranger to spin-off games like Guilty Gear, Isuka, whatever, the four-player Smash game, whatever, and the one that had like platforms in it, Guilty Gear Dust Strikers. So like a Guilty Gear spin-off, like if you look at this as, okay, it's not Guilty Gear X if, it's not the fourth real Guilty Gear title, but it's this different type of fighting game that has Guilty Gear characters in it. If you look at it from that perspective, and embrace the fact that it's different and tweak the characters around what's new about this new type of Guilty Gear game, then yeah, it's not traditional Guilty Gear, but it can still be a fun, unique game in its own right. It doesn't have to be 100% identical to Xrd, and that's what a lot of people, some fans complained about Xrd, is that, oh, it's just double X but easier. They got Blitz Shield, has some new mechanics, but overall it's just watered down Guilty Gear. I'm not seeing the appeal. This game, it's even more simplified, but at least it's trying to be somewhat of a different type of game, and from that standpoint, we can take what we have from the beta, build upon it, and try to make a game that's actually worth people's time, which is not the version of the game that we got right now. Right? So I've covered how they remove the yellow Roman cancel, they nerf the Gatlings, they nerf the movement. They don't want you to do aerial juggles anymore, so there's no aerial throw resets or someone bursts in the air and you grab them in the air. I caught your burst. That's not a thing anymore, because there's less dynamics going on in the gameplay in the neutral game. Characters also have all of their wake up times homogenized. That's what should be one of the defining factors of Guilty Gear, is that different characters have different wake up timings. That's not even a thing in this game. Characters all get up at the same time, if I remember correctly. I have to double check that, but could have sworn like they all have the same get up time now. Which didn't used to be a thing, right? And other games like Blaze Blue, they'll give you the option to delay your wake up, but in Guilty Gear, it's like when you woke up, you just woke up automatically, but every character had a different wake up speed. So that's not even in the game anymore, and they didn't replace it with any type of teching. There's zero teching in this game, right? You can't tech, so what the fuck? You don't even tech on the ground. There's less stuff for you to think about. So when there's less stuff for you to think about, there's less stuff for you to actually do, and that's why watching and playing the game is boring, right? My complaints, my stupid opinions that you agree with, because what else do you say, right? Oh, it's boring. It's boring to watch Potemkin and Axel space each other out, even though all because that's a slower paced match, a more defensive match, does not automatically make it bad. But here are your proposed solutions. And these solutions, by the way, are fucking awful and show that you don't understand, or whoever wrote this, right? I'm assuming it's you, Shin Virgil, but it shows a complete lack of understanding of how game balance works. This is why ArcSys needs to hire me to fix their fucking games, right? All right, so more tension balance for initiator of risky forward movement or risky range attacks based on character balance. So more tension gain, more tension gain for characters who initiate in aggressive behavior. do you really need to give characters more attention to, like, to emphasize forward movement? Because the thing about Guilty Gear is that we've always had really strong defensive options until they, nerf the ever loving fuck out of faultless defense. I still don't understand why it's in the game if it's so fucking bad. So I didn't talk about faultless defense being a get off me move. Faultless defense shouldn't even be in this game because of how bad it is, and the fact that you don't even use it to block air unblockable attacks anymore. So what's even the point of having that there? So what I'm hearing is just whack'em sock'em robot logic, where in order to encourage more aggressive play, we just make it so that the aggressor gets even more attention, and when they hit you, you like instantly die because they already have their super, and the damage is already incredibly fucking high. Like, no matter how you spin it, one thing I think everyone can agree upon with this game is that there needs to be a damage reduction in the game. There needs to be. The damage is too fucking high. I think even you can agree with that, right? Quicker, strict time limit, tension penalty for turtle play. So you want negative penalty to happen even faster if you back away. So what you're suggesting is, bruh, stop zoning. I hate Mortal Kombat 11. Just stop zoning. I hate zoning. No, characters like Axel and other like Venom and shit, like these characters are based around more defensive playstyles, and even like with Venom, he can kind of do both, right? Because he can knock you down and then oki you with the cue balls and shit. But like a lot of his gameplay is based around space control. If a character is based around space control, but like the negative penalty is increased to punish that character, then they can't be as defensive, and it defeats the point of having different gameplay styles. Some characters, they get in close, they grab you, right? Like Potemkin, you die in 3 grabs. But other characters, their whole gimmick is to get you out, right? So, like, if you make that type of change, it affects how zoners work in the game. It's not something you can just put into the game unless you account for different negative penalty timing. And I want to say the old games excerpt as well, they operated on that logic, if I remember correctly, is that different characters got negative penalties sooner than others. So like Soul, like I think will like get negative penalty sooner than Dizzy, because Dizzy's like setting up all her traps and shit. She's got her bubble and all this other kind of crap. So I mean that could work, right? But like the only reason why defensive play is such a big issue in this game is because they're de-emphasizing all the aerial options, or all just the options in general that characters had, right? No air techs. Can't air tech. Like you can't get hit in the air and like tech towards somebody to get closer to them because there's no air teching, because that's floaty, right? You said it was floaty. So they can't do that anymore. Um, we're de-emphasizing combos, so everything hurts like shit. It's not designed in a way that encourages fast-paced gameplay. Your fucking forward air dash is slower. Do I really need to say anything else besides that? It's just slower to get in on people, and that's why the game has that type of turtle-like play, that turtle-like pacing. Right? I mean, turtle play isn't even the complaint that I had when I saw the beta in action. That wasn't my main complaint. It was just that this game's dull as shit. But if you want to complain about turtling, yeah, I guess almost sounds like you just got zoned out and you're bitching about that because you play Chip from what I read, so you just want to mash buttons with Chip. But they took out his teleport, so we can't teleport next to people. You have to alpha blade your way towards somebody, right? And that's another mobility option they took away. Like, they took away mobility options from these characters, and what moves they didn't take out from the characters' moveset, they nerfed it. So your mobility options, they're just less. You have less mobility options in the game, and that's why it's so much. That's why it feels so turtly, right? Also talking about risky range attacks, so getting more meter gain off of specific types of attacks, like, bruh. Oh, he did heavy slash. Let's give him like a whole chunk of meter. This was never an issue in any other game because they we didn't. This is the first Guilty Gear game to just raise his middle finger at all the fundamental aspects of this game's identity. Air dashes, fuck that, let's change it. Air teching, let's just take that out. Dust attack, let's just change how that entire mechanic works. Fuck it, right? That's the reason the game is in the state that it's in. And you're complaining about it being too slow and too defensive. It's almost like I compared the game to Samurai Showdown in my original lame video, right? My original bad video. I make such bad content, right? For a reason. Adding risk gained for too much crouching or backward movement without initiating risky attacks. PKS are generally not risky and are used from safe distance as footsies or fakes. Well, duh, they're called pokes, right? They're used for pokes. So your solution is to encourage people to do risky ass shit like 6 HS. I'm just supposed to run up to you and do 6 heavy slash. This risk gain is different than original risk for blocking attacks or defending versus pressure. So you're basically making it so that if you try to block attacks, you get fucked in the ass. So rock'em sock'em robots, baby, just smack my face and just smack our faces into each other, smack each other, just smack each other in the face. Don't block anything, because if you stand back and you block, you're gonna get punished by the mechanics. They're gonna tell you not to do that. I've always questioned why these games feel the need to push you into each other with mechanics like negative penalty, because negative penalty, just from a game design perspective, it never really made all that sense to me, at first, when I first got into these anime fighters. But I understand the reason why they have that mechanic in the game is because Guilty Gear, by all means, has really, really strong defensive mechanics. Really strong defensive mechanics that if those mechanics didn't cost meter, if you weren't encouraged to have to get in close on somebody, then you would never there'd be no reason to ever like play the game, right? And that's why negative penalty in Guilty Gear, what it does, right, unlike Blaze Blue, which I don't know what the fuck they were doing in that first game with their negative penalty, or how they did in Persona, which is just, well, you could keep playing chicken, you just take an enormous amount of fucking damage. That doesn't even make any sense. And you can give people negative penalty with Elizabeth. It was stupid, right? But in Guilty Gear, it always made sense because the negative penalty there is there to stop you from spamming faultless defense and all these incredibly strong defensive mechanics, especially when they gave you Blitz Shield. When they even gave you Blitz Shield, it's like, holy fucking shit, right? They did that by just taking your meter away. And that's all they did. They didn't feel the need to make you take more damage. They didn't feel the need to do anything crazy like that. I even forgot like how it worked in fucking Central. I think they took your barrier guard away, which is kind of the same thing. Your barrier guard would drain if you were too defensive, which just made it so that you can't block all the time. And what they were trying to do is just make you use your defensive mechanics as an actual resource. But your faultless defense and strive is shit, so you don't even need it, right? You use all your meter for everything that you do because everything costs 50 meter now, so there's no point behind even like trying to sparse out the meter. The game is overly defensive. That's probably why it doesn't punish you as much for being defensive, because that's where the game is leaning towards in terms of how it plays, because they're going for a more ground-based Street Fighter-like experience for people who aren't really anime fans. Like, they're trying to build a completely different market of people. I don't even understand the motivation behind it. And your solution to that problem is to just punish blocking and not just just backward movement and punish crouching. If you crouch block and you move backwards, we need to punish you more, instead of making a game where the player is allowed to be more aggressive, instead of just nerfing all their aggressive options, nerfing their Gatling chains, nerfing their air dash, and just making it harder in general for characters to get on each other. And when they do get on each other, when they do actually get a hit, oh my god, you better watch out, because May's gonna 6P spam you into a wall, bounce you into it like 4 times, break it, and then I don't know, hit you with a Yamada attack or some shit, and then they'll take half of your fucking life bar. Because combos in this game are stupid. I've seen the Twitch combo compilation. It's sad. The combos in this game are dumb. Any random asshole can do those combos. It's so dumb. It's so boring. It's stupid. The game in its current state is stupid. That's why I'm not sucking those case cock over the fucking game. Maybe if I make another video with these exact same complaints in a more professional manner, I can get the developers to listen to me because I'm not being respectful enough. But nothing I'm saying is false. And the only reason why I'm being so blunt about it is because I don't believe the game will change. They made the game, but the game is in the state that it's in for a reason, and that's because the smell of the game has been established. We're going to see some tweaks, hopefully, right? Maybe even some new moves, even though they're making character guides for the characters based on the moves that they already have in the game, which suggests that like these are like close to the finished move sets for the characters. You know, like they don't have everything finished. Obviously, not all the characters are in it. May's fucking outro says outright it's the demo version, right? So obviously the game isn't finished, so they might add in different attacks, but all I'm seeing is just removed attacks, removed or nerfed, altered attacks, and we're making character guides for them. It's like, well, why are you making character guides for them when that's not even all of their moves, unless these are the only moves you intend on giving the characters when the game is finished? And you know, we might see some changes, but the idea of the game, the core idea of the game, is likely not going to change. How air dash is in this game, I highly doubt is going to change. Adding air recovery back into the game, why would they take it out just for them to put it back in? That's not going to change. That's likely not going to change. It could change. Maybe if you delayed the game, they could change it. But at that point, you're making a completely different game, because like the thing about Strive is that it's so fundamentally different from the other games. It's not a Guilty Gear game, which is what I said in my video that you said was bad, and yet that is the crux of what's wrong with the game, and it's not traditional Guilty Gear. So it has all of these problems that the games before it didn't have. Back before they felt the need to nerf everything and take stuff out. And you're talking about just making it so that blocking gets punished more, so or you just have another game where you can't block, basically. I don't fucking know. That sounds dumb. The game wouldn't need that problem, and you know some characters they're all about walking backwards. I'm not gonna kill zoners for you, man. No. What they need to do, you know, I'll go more into about the changes that they need to make later into the video. Let's get through more about what's wrong about the game. Right, I'm focusing on that right now. Providing each character a tool versus turtle play. Back in Guilty Gear Double X plus R, force breaks were a useful tool that changed the pace of play from boring to exciting. Wow, you know, I'm totally in agreement there. You know, back when we had force breaks and all these other advanced mechanics that they felt the need to remove and extra because it was too hard, it did make the game more exciting. I'm glad we can see eye to eye on that. You know, the fact that they took those mechanics out. You know, I mean, yeah, you were bitching about dead angle and error recovery, talking that dead angle didn't work. Air recovery was cool, but it slowed the gameplay down. Um, Dash speed into was useful, but you wanted damage, you had to start using your close S, but that was in double S. We don't know how the 2020 game plays with new confirm routes. You mean removed confirm routes? Because that's the point that I was making, is that they removed routes. Well, what about the new routes? What new routes, dude? There's so many routes that you don't have anymore compared to the routes that you used to have. Should I even be bothered to talk about new routes? It's all about removing content from the game so there's less to think about and the game is easier because of it, right? Because there's just less to the game. Trimming the fat. Let's make the game easier. I gotta make it even easier, right? So, but you know, if you have force breaks, love force breaks, man. If we don't try anything new, you will never know a better Guilty Gear was possible. I knew this wasn't going to be a better Guilty Gear because it's not a Guilty Gear game. That was my entire point. This is not going to be a better Guilty Gear game because it's so antithetical to what Guilty Gear even is. It's a different type of game. We can call it a spin-off, but it's not really Guilty Gear. And don't give me this shit about, oh, you wouldn't know a better one is possible. Well, who would have guessed that a Guilty Gear game with an absurd amount of damage and no air recovery was a game that not even Japanese players were going to like? Who could have seen that coming 5 months ago? Right? Shorter round time limits, so both players are pressured to move and take risks. Don't really need to explain how much shit you're in when you have to unironically suggest that we make the timer shorter. The damage is already so fucking ridiculously high. I mean, I guess I can agree with that because the match is going to end in 30 seconds anyway. Well, the minute somebody gets touched, so you don't even need that much time on the timer because you're just going to die instantly anyway. And my favorite one, right? That this so-called solution, for tension segments, more RC use potential. So your solution to slower gameplay is to just mash buttons, just move forward, right? Just take away the ability to just even walk backwards, dude. Because I should have four tension segments for more RC stuff. Even the thing about RC in this game, right, is that it's an attack. I don't know if you can even bait out the get off me version of the move. There's no traditional yellow Roman cancel like in Exerd. There, there's no force breaks. There's no there's no what was the fucking the blue Roman cancel? It fucking uh it's escaping me right now. But you know the force, I think it was called force Roman cancel. I want to say like there's no force Roman cancel. Like there's no reason for the game to have four tension segments. And imagine if the mechanics that were in the game did have additional segments, like, oh, it only costs 25 meter to do Roman cancel in the fucking game. Then it would be busted. Every other time you got close to somebody, they would always get you off of them. And every time anybody got hit, they would always do a Roman cancel combo because they already have the meter to do it. And the only thing that would cost 50 meter would be like a super. So they can afford to do a Roman cancel, then do a super, and then if they ever lost any momentum, they could immediately do a fucking yellow Roman cancel, or maybe that costs 50%, but the combo extenders only cost 25%. So everything hurts like shit, and you don't have to like you don't have to actually take meter management into account when trying to push somebody into the corner, since that's obviously a big deal in this game, is getting someone stuck in the corner. That's how the corner works. That's why they get you out of the corner, because they don't want you to get pressured in this fucking game. With the stage transitions, they don't want people to get pressured. They just want someone to get hit in the corner a couple of times, and then they get out of the corner for additional damage, and then you get the damage buff, and then it's back to neutral, because this is more about neutral play than it is about corner pressure or any of that other stuff. I mean, Melia, when she does the fucking toop disc thing, she jumps in the air and does it. I guess she could do like an air dash to mix you up and cross you up, but she doesn't appear next to you anymore when she does that. Because obviously she probably doesn't have the role, because if she had the role, why would she feel the need to be airborne after doing the disc? There's weird shit like that in the game because they don't want people to be pressured as hard in this game. That's probably why raw damage is so high, because they want games to be quick, flashy. They want damage to be ridiculous, so anybody can just do whatever kind of fucking damage they feel like doing. And they don't want anybody to have to block for an extended period of time. What it seems like they're doing with the way the game is made. Additional tension segments do not address any of that. It only just throws more wrenches into the gears, because now we have to equate for things like what are we gonna use that meter for? More roaming cancels? Hell no! You don't need more of that. We're actually gonna say you want 25% supers. Uneven matchups are tough to balance. Solution-specific matchups, health, defense, tension, and attack balances. For example, Axel versus Potemkin put a fixed percent penalty on Axel or a reward for Potemkin only in this matchup. This can be done in future based on pro matches and is less risky and time-consuming for development team. Is it really, like, none of that made sense? Is it really less cost effective to sit up here and literally code something into the game, right? And as someone who's like coded games before, I can tell you this is not as simple as flipping some kind of switch, right? I had to literally go into the game's code and put in a case in the game that says if Axel is specifically fighting this particular character, that there needs to be a fixed his way his negative penalty works is either like multiplied or whatever. It's changed to a specific value while Potemkin gets this particular reward against this specific character, and that needs to be coded into the game so both characters react to each other based on that, and based on matches in the future, based on pro matches, then we have to make more changes. Or you can just admit that a couple of weeks or a couple of days worth of gameplay footage, the fucking beta, like that's not enough time to go ahead and start bitching about character balance. So no balance changes until we actually know how the game plays. Like definitively, right? Because it sounds like you're bitching about not being able to get in on Axel with Potemkin. You're just bitching about Axel in general. The whole point behind Axel is to keep people out. It's supposed to be a tough matchup for Potemkin. That's what Potemkin Buster used to do so much fucking damage. Speaking of Potemkin Buster, right? This is another thing. I want to address this. That's why I had this window open here, because I really need to address this. It's so fucking dumb. All right, so this is Potemkin Buster in Rep 2, and this is how I know the game is like, we don't want you to get pressured, we don't want you to feel overwhelmed, we want the game to be easier for the casuals so they aren't overwhelmed, because the thing about Potemkin Buster is that Potemkin used to be able to loop you into it. Because he would do the Potemkin Buster, he'd throw your ass to the ground, and he'd only be like a couple of feet away from you. He'd basically be next to you. And then it's like, all right, I'm going to do it again. I'm just come in with my hammer fall. I'm just going to jump. I'm just going to jump into you, and I'm going to do it again. And this is how he does it to Chip, right?
Ooh,
I'm going to do it again. Might as well like the video. Throws him down. Right, see how close he is. See how close he is after that shit?
Fuck, man.
Do it again. Alright, I'm gonna do it again. No! Die, right? And that's how it works, right? In Rev 2. Fast forward to Good Gear Strive. Let's go back here. I already was watching this, so let me just dial it back. Oh no, this is alright at the start. I'm gonna like this too, because it helps with my case when I'm liking the videos. Right. Fucking lag, alright. Just the Potemkin Buster. See how fucking far he threw this man after that? He just threw him all the way across the screen. He just yeets his ass. He can't jump in with his heavy attack and go for that mix-up anymore because he's all the way over there. Right? And not only that, but like, you saw how much damage that did? So it's all about raw hits and less about mix-up and pressure. Because that's the type of game that they're building. Right? Does it again.
Don't get scooped.
Scoop him all the way over there. He has to use Hammerfall just to be like a character space away from Kai. And by the time he gets there, Kai is already in the air. He can't mix him up with multiple throws anymore. If you want to complain about Potemkin not being able to get in on people, well, I mean, maybe part of the problem is that they fucking nerf the shit out of Gigantor or whatever, the Gigantor bullet or whatever, the shield move. That's stupid now. It sucks. You can just disrespect it. In Potemkin Buster, you can't loop people into it anymore. This almost seems like the weakest version of Potemkin when you actually consider neutral in this fucking game. Like,
don't get scooped.
He's almost dead. So, like, in this game, another thing to point is that 2 Potemkin Busters kills Chip in this game. Well, it took 3 Potemkin Busters to kill Chip in Xrd. There is definitively less health in this game. That or the damage is just that fucking high. Either way, like, who cares? The damage is so fucking high because it's all about raw damage. And here's a thing, right? Here's a suggestion that if they want to honestly try to push the game in a different direction, let's say you have Potemkin Buster, but let's nerf the damage. So Potemkin Buster only does like some of the damage it used to do, but he throws you down the ground, he's next to you. But since we want to do the wall bounce shit, right? Let's say there's the follow-up where he yeets you across the screen. So if you press, like, I don't know, P after doing Potemkin Buster, he'll throw the character across the screen, and if it gets additional damage. And if he's near the wall, then he'll bounce off the wall, and it'll allow Potemkin to do like a wall juggle combo. It's like, they get yeet across the wall. I'm flying across the wall. They bump into the wall. They bounce back, and now he's like catching them and shit. And he can like end that with his gigantic leap into the grand whatever Potemkin Buster, the sewer Potemkin Buster, and he can do stuff like that. Like trying to think outside of the box. So like this isn't going to be traditional Guilty Gear, but we can do stuff to add to the game that makes it play better. Like add different types of combo states to the game. You can have states where they like skid across the ground, and have like follow-ups based on that. You can give characters completely different types of moves. One thing they did in this game is they absolutely butchered Faust's teleport by making it insanely telegraphed in this game. But so like if you're just gonna butcher the teleport, right? Instead of butchering the teleport so that it's shit, let's just give him a new move or a new version of the teleport. So like let's say he like opens a gate or whatever. He opens like some kind of teleport thing because like he's got the vor throw now where he vores people and opens an interdimensional portal to get him out of his stomach from this vor throw. So have him like rip open a space time continuum or whatever. He like flies into it, and maybe he like teleports next to the opponent, and so he have a move like okay, maybe he'll teleport behind you and start pressing buttons, or he'll have a version where it's like fake, and he'll just come down. He'll be like a scarecrow, and he didn't actually move anywhere, like kind of like Arachne's teleport. And if you hit the scarecrow, maybe the scarecrow will counterattack you, and it could be stuff like that. I mean, that's not perfect because I'm ad-libbing it all. Maybe if I sat down and like wrote it all on in a document or whatever, I can try to think of like better ideas. But think about different moves that you can give to the characters. Another example is May. They took out Mr. Dolphin. You can't do dolphin traps. They took out the Mr. Rotter's ball. They just replaced it with the dolphin that just smacks the ball for Oki. And they didn't give any new moves to compensate for that. Just dolphin, 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 and they just nerfed how the ball works. Why not give her a new move, right? Where I don't know, so she have the ball, you have the ball splat, but maybe there's a version where they 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 bounce the ball on the ground and like bounces up in the air really fast, but it's like really close range, right? Or like just different angles or something that gives the character more dynamics. But like May is a perfect example of what's wrong with this game. There's so much in the game that May cannot do compared to the previous game that it's just mind-boggling. They even like streamlined Bandit Revolver. They streamlined the move that's soul like goes underneath you like the Grand Viper. You don't have to mash left and right to do extended Grand Viper. It's just this move where you just hold S and it's like I forgot what they called it. They called it something else, Viper or whatever. It's a new type of. It has a new name, but the same type of move. People keep bitching and moaning about Greed Sever, so they put in fucking Fondue for Kai. The Fondue flip, the fucking stun state. Oh, shock state. That's what I mean. Like they put in shock state because well, that's how he extends his combos. It's just a gimmick, right? The only character that really feels like they have an idea of how they want to evolve the game, ironically enough, is Chip. They took away his teleport, but he has this new Alpha Blade where he like goes up into the air to do Alpha Blade. And so you can have stuff like that, right? So make it so that in order for Chip to move around, he can have like a backwards Alpha Blade, a backwards upward Alpha Blade, and the forward diagonal Alpha Blade. So he has like 4 different versions of Alpha Blade, and he can do like these recos with Alpha Blade. So he's zooming across the screen, just going Alpha, Alpha, Alpha Blade, right? He's just doing all this weird shit. And he can like air dash out of it or whatever, right? So he can do stuff like that. And since they took away the wall cling and they replaced it with a wall run, maybe you can make it so that if he backdashes into a wall, he can run back up on the wall and then like jump backwards, and then he can like be behind somebody and then start hitting him in the back of the head and shit after he just jumped off the wall and did this crazy ass backflip, this Chun-Li style backflip off the fucking wall. And that will make it so that the gameplay is more engaging. The reason why you think the game is boring, Virgil, is because it is. They kept removing shit and they didn't put any of the cool shit that I just suggested into the fucking game. There's nothing cool. There's nothing cool to replace any of the stuff they took out. That's the problem. They're giving the characters a couple of new moves. Potemkin has a new move, but at the same time, like they took out shit like heat extend, like heat knuckle automatically does heat extend. You can't do heat knuckle, have somebody next to you, and then be like, all right, time to get in for that Potemkin Buster. No, they always fly away from you now because they don't want you to get looped by him. You see what I'm talking about? They don't want Potemkin to get loops anymore. So they every time he grabs you, he just throws you all the way across the screen automatically. But why does Sodium Overdrive hate that? Why does he have no faith in Dosuke and the team? I mean, yeah, he predicted this was gonna happen because every other anime fighter is doing this exact same shit. And after Grand Blue came out and that was fucking pathetic, it's like, come on, dude, come on. Like I knew the game was gonna play exactly like that. I didn't have to play it to know that. That's why I called it out 5 months ago, right? Specific matchup or whatever. No, that doesn't actually affect how this game plays. This they don't have any moves, dude. There's nothing dynamic. There's no insta kills, bruh. Like Faust only has one super. Why couldn't they give him a new super to replace the one they took out? Like let's say he takes out his scalpel, he cuts like one of those fucking portals in the air, and like another version of Faust. It can be cool, right? You can make it like the old Faust from the last game, like the classic Faust outfit or whatever. Or maybe he comes out sometimes. He looks like Dr. Baldhead. It could be Dr. Baldhead with the fucking paper bag on. He could just start throwing some random shit, and then Faust does his other super where he just throws out random shit, and now there's two Faust on screen throwing shit on screen or whatever. Like, wouldn't that be hype as shit if they gave them new moves and stuff? Like, I've never seen Faust do that before. Holy shit, that's so cool. This is a totally different type of Faust. He has all these new moves. Like they're trying to give him some new stuff, right? Like when he throws stuff out of his ass, the fucking grab bag shit. He has some new stuff he cranks out, like the trumpet, the new the teddy bear Faust that attacks you if you attack it, stuff like that. Yeah, there's stuff like that in the game. Like there's a couple of new things, but it needs to be expanded upon to really emphasize what's good about it. But like I'm not seeing any of that right now, right? I'm not seeing it's pretty fucking lame, right? All right, so non-motivating and boring lore. Look, I'm gonna read it, but the fact that we're on problem C and you're bitching about lore, bruh. Guilty Gear X had a serious and dark tone that people loved. Many characters had a heartfelt struggle. We felt the importance of each duel between the characters, and we were motivated to use them for the fight. In Xrd and Guilty Gear Strive, every character sees the fight for no reason, is happy, and has no struggle. Many people left Guilty Gear because of this. Solution, bring back some balance to serious fights, motivated characters, and darker story. That's never going to happen, and I'm going to tell you why. With Xrd, and I complained about this in some videos I did about a Strive, and I was calling it Exif and shit too, like my predictions video and stuff. The thing about Xrd is that it's like weeb trash. Like I like it, but like you look at the aesthetics between that game and Double X is night and day. The darker kind of this grunge rock and roll look of the previous game, Double X, the art style, like a lot of the character portraits looked almost ugly, especially like the pre-fight images, like with Axel and stuff. His teeth were all extra detailed, and you can like, see up his nose and shit. It was a grittier overall look and feel to the game. It was still anime, right? But it was anime in the sense of like 90s. As opposed to today, where everything has to look like K-On! Or some shit, where it's all cutesy and stuff. And then Guilty Gear Xrd came out, and Melia looks like she has Reese Witherspoon's sharp ass chin. Like I'm surprised her stabbing her chin into you isn't an attack, right? Like that's her insta kill. She just takes her fucking chin, carves it down the middle of your fucking body, all your guts spill out. I'm surprised she doesn't do that to you, right? Because everyone's chin is so fucking sharp. They even did that to Axel. They made Axel look cute. Everything's all extra bright. We get characters like El Felt and Leo Whitefang, these bootleg ass Blaze Blue characters. What the fuck? So no, like, yeah, the lore has been completely fucked. There's all this shit about the backyard. That's just the boundary. It's like, bruh, it's like it I forgot the dude's name. I guess it's it's blanking me right now because obviously I'm not the happiest camper talking about this. I'm not frustrated, but obviously I wouldn't be doing it if I wasn't making fun of you for it. But it's like I don't know, the guy who made fucking the Blaze Blue games, like the Blaze Blue story. I don't know why his name is blanking on me all of a sudden. I should know his name by heart, but I just don't right now. It's just escaping me. But it's like he wrote the fucking story, man. It's like that dude wrote the fucking story, and, and then we're gonna have this big boss fight, or the new black dude is gonna be in the game. The samurai dude turns out he's like Susanoo or some shit. It's like that's gonna happen, right? It's so dumb. It's generic weeb trash, and it's just more of what I'm talking about when I say Guilty Gear is lost its identity. Um, Very high damage for easy attacks. Solution: this is a balance issue and should be dealt with in each matchup case. Solve balance issue based on matchup and not only general. No, no, no. The damage is too high in general. The way that that health is as balanced in Guilty Gear. I'm not even gonna explain it. You play the games, right? I shouldn't have to explain it. If you know how the gut system works in this game, if you know how defense and damage output is used in this game, then that explains itself. It's like all the damage is like it's like every I feel like every counter in the game might as well say mortal on it. It should just be mortal counter, mortal counter, mortal counter. Because that's more honest, right? Damage is too high. It shouldn't be individually based, because then you're going to be like, well, Ram, I don't like the zoners. They should take like a heavy slash should take out half of their fucking life bar. And I mean, that's why we have different like gut systems and different damage percentages for different characters, dude. Right? It's already character specific in that regard. So unless they balance the health pool in this game differently, the damage is too high in general. Period. Make special one or two rival interactions. No, don't care. It's a beta. Who cares about it's the beta, dude. This is this is shit that doesn't matter in the beta. I'm not complaining about there being no rival interactions in the beta. It's not even finished. May's outro isn't even finished. Who cares? Chip is slow while his running speed is good. The consensus is that air movement and some specials are very slow. The whole game is slower, right? The whole fucking game got slower. At least give him quicker air dashes and back dashes. Well, I mean, everyone has a slower air dash. Everyone has a slower forward dash. It takes forever for it to start up, but you get to attack out of it sooner. Cover cancels like command throw, soul, and Potemkin remove or adjust. Fuck you. Cover throws have been in several different games. I don't care. Look, there are so many things about this game that are wrong that cover cancels is like that's the least of your fucking problems. That's so low on the list. Like the further down we get in this list, the more petty the complaints become. Some instances of hurt boxes do not represent the animation's positions. Fine tune the hitboxes. All right, I can agree with that at the very least. Fine tune the fucking hitboxes. It's the beta, so I can see them adjusting the hitboxes. But that just kind of goes to show how fucking lazily thrown together this shit piece is. Grab a command throw balance in Roman cancel state is confusing. Properly explained rule. No, fuck you. The game is bad. We're not gonna explain anything. Like, why are you over here in the comments section trying to argue with me when you know that I'm right? Like fucking shit. You care more about being right than fixing the game. Blah 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 blah. Have you had something constructive to say and blah 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 blah? I won't bother, but chip depths are in the game. You wrote that they weren't they weren't in the last version of the fucking game. Or well, there's so much serious things in the world. Blah 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 blah. You want to be called right more than fixing the game. Blah 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 blah. No, no, no. I want you to say that I'm right because I am right, dude. I'm just right. And I do care about fixing the game. That's why I made the video in the first place. To make it very clear to people that to Dosuke and the team, I don't make my videos with the intention that Dosuke and fucking Arxis are going to watch my videos. Well, I don't know. Maybe I should. Maybe I should make them more formal, dress up in my suit and tie and present it to Arxis, and maybe I can get myself a job as a game designer at Arxis if I did that instead, right? But it's like, dude, like this is what the game is. I didn't intend for anybody from the development team to watch this shit, but I did intend for people to watch the video, put two and two together, rub their brain cells together, do some basic fucking math and come to the same conclusion that we're all coming to now that the beta is out, that the game was trash. And if enough people spoke up about it, then maybe, just maybe, the game would get fixed. That was the point of me complaining about it. I hit because I care, right? The Joker, or whatever from Injustice, like, look, if you don't complain about it, nothing's gonna happen. Right, remember the net code, how they were gonna do rollback net code. Only when enough people bitched about rollback did they decide, all right, we'll do yeah, all right, we won't do delay based net code. We'll do the rollback, right? Like people want the rollback, they're gonna do delay based, and the beta is delay based, but in the final version they claim it's gonna be rollback because that's what people want. That wouldn't have happened if there wasn't any demand for it. So if you demand that the game have all this other stuff in it, right? Maybe you'll get some changes. But instead, you want to fight back against me and then start shitting on Street Fighter V and Samurai Showdown like that was even part of the conversation when it's not. Then you want to start dick writing Ascent Core Plus like you just weren't shitting on air recovery and dead angle and Third Strike, which I didn't even mention Third Strike when it comes to Street. No, nobody mentioned Third Strike. I don't know what you're even talking about. Still calling Dead Angle was useless, but blah 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 blah. I think you're glad that it's in Street Fighter Five. I mean, well, Street Fighter Five has so many shitty ass defensive mechanics. It would be nice if I had some kind of way to get people off me. Can I have a defensive mechanic, please? You notice how if a game is more about aggression, they make it more defense based, and if a game is more about defense, they make it more offensive based. It's like these developers are taking these games trying to appeal to the exact opposite crowd who liked the game previously because they're trying to streamline their game and make it for casuals. They're making these games for people who suck ass at the last one. There's no reason why Street Fighter V should be so fucking aggressive. It's Street Fighter, but we gotta make it a aggressive Street Fighter game. What the fuck? And V reversals that suck dick because most of them are so bad, right? Most of them are so terrible. Like I just want a mechanic that works. We had focus attacks. We used to have defensive mechanics, and then people bitched about that, and now we don't have it anymore. And that's why it's gone, right? Give me a break. And calling Street Fighter in its entirety trash. Street Fighter, other than Third Strike, is trash. And calling Samurai Showdown trash. I didn't defend Strive completely, but I even spared an hour bitching about it in this crap complaints, your survey or whatever. Look, you don't have any real complaints for the game. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that you're capping for the game because you sucked at Xer and you just want a game that you can win at. But I'm not even gonna be bothered to distract from the point by assuming that because we're busy saying stupid shit like training alone is difficult and takes too much time to learn a character and then learn each matchup. This may lead to people staying in training mode for a long time in the beginning life of the game. This time can be used in actual matches, leading to more possible players in matchmaking instead of training in the first days. Low matchmaking count can lead to players leaving the game. In no world is any of that true. For starters, you scrubs always go online and ignore training mode anyway, regardless of how easy or hard it is to learn how to play a game. You get your asses beat, and when you are tired of getting your ass handed to you while using your mom's McDonald's Wi-Fi, you quit the game, say it's shit, and then we're all left with a dead game with bad mechanics because it was made that way to appeal to you, and you didn't even bother to play the fucking game. And here you are talking about how, well, training alone to learn all the intricacies and stuff about the game that keep it fresh and exciting and make it deep and complex and make it interesting to learn so you're still learning new stuff years after you got the game. Yeah, that's too hard. I want to just get into the game and start mashing buttons immediately without having to learn character matchups. So nice solution is making the game just easier and dumbing it down even more. Because what did he respond with? Ability to watch match replay and actually pause and take control of player one or two, player two at any time in the replay. This way, players can quickly train against any situation or set play they or their players dealt with, even pro situations. Or you can just go to training mode, record a dummy, and then practice against the dummy recording like a normal person. These are features that you don't even fucking need. I'm not even gonna say whether or not they're bad or good. You don't need it. You don't need these features. And you're not gonna use them anyway, so what does it matter? Making hit hurt grab boxes available for viewing in training mode as an overall option. Now I could agree with that. The problem with that is that they did that for Skullgirls and you people aren't playing that, so who the fuck cares? It's another thing the game doesn't need because you're not gonna use it anyway. Yeah, I used the hitbox features in Skullgirls. I thought that was a great feature. Most games don't do that because like they kind of don't need it. You can just test out the hitboxes yourself. You really don't need it. It's not a bad thing to have. I'm not saying don't do it. It's just it's not really mandatory to teach players how a move works. It helps. It definitely helps, but it's not really necessary. Um, no stylish and hard mechanic like Guilty Gear Double S slash back or third strikes red parry. These mechanics add hype to spectators in tournaments. Blitz is not comparable. Add a universe mechanic that's hard to pull off even if the rewards are limited. Yeah, I could agree. I would agree with that. Right, I could agree with that. But the entire game, you seem to be forgetting that one of the key words they used when talking about this game when they announced it was accessibility. They were talking about it being accessible and reaching a broader audience, and then had to reassure us that it would be deeper than all. It would be just as deep, if not deeper, than all the other Guilty Gear games, which is just a load of shit. They're just blowing smoke up our asses again, right? They don't want the game to be complex, they don't want the game to be complex or difficult. They don't want it to be complicated. They don't. Look what they did to Potemkin's throw. Look at all the moves they are removing from the game. Look at all the things that are in the game, like air recovery and all this other shit. Look at what they did to air dashes. They want the game to be simpler. Now you can make the game simpler and still have it be good. All because a game doesn't have a whole bunch of crazy shit in it doesn't mean that it's bad. But you're suggesting something that is antithetical to the identity of this specific game. That's not what they're going. That's not the smell of the game. The game smells like shit and you're trying to spray it with Febreze, dude. Like, no, that's not what they're going for with the game. So you're not gonna get that. It's just not part. It's not part of the plan, right? Clash is great, a cool mechanic. However, is not consistent. Guilty Gear Strive example: when we start a round with similar move from same character, the result is random. Now one player hit or both get hit, make a clash consistent. That could just be an issue with it being the beta. I don't know. I don't really care. Game is still trash, right? But making it more consistent, yeah, that's fine. I mean, look, we had stupid ass mechanics like Danger Time because they wanted to make the game more exciting. Where they just make it good instead of having mechanics like the fucking corner mechanic. Like that's another thing I'll talk about. Like the corner mechanic in this fucking game, it should be based on the set number of hits in a combo that have a wall bounce. Like if you do like 4 wall bounces, you get the wall stick, and then you can go for the stage transition shit or whatever. And then after a combo ends and a character lands on their ass, that shit needs to be reset. You shouldn't be able to walk up to somebody and mash the crouching light kick, and just by mashing crouching light kick, not even in a combo, they eventually get stuck to the wall. That should not that doesn't make sense. People have showed it. Clayton Chapman made videos showing that off. That shouldn't be how the wall works in the game. It's a bad faith mechanic. They don't want corner pressure in an anime fighter. They're trying to de-emphasize corner pressure. It's like somebody who really hates Melia and really hates Zato. Two characters who got into the game. I was sure they weren't going to be in the fucking game. That's something I got wrong, right? They showed up in the game, right? But it's like people who hate the archetypes for those characters, or the people who designed that fucking wall mechanic. Because I gotta get out of this wall. I just gotta get out. I gotta get back into neutral so I can spam normals and get raw damage that does 50% of your life. And get a third of your health off from a fucking throw. Hmm. Pay to own or play model may limit access to the game and hinder the future potential of player bases. Provide a free to play option. Blah blah blah. Look, free to play. So, like, do you play Dead or Alive? I mean, Dead or Alive 5 I thought was a good game, but Dead or Alive 6 is trash, so who cares? Lobby and matchmaking, it's the beta, I don't care. The skipping all of that. Look, they gave us Minecraft characters as the fucking lobby art. Like, the lobby's trash. Wake me up when this rollback. Some characters' visuals get negatively affected by camera angles and round match ending frames. slow facing becomes long and silly. Fine tune the character visuals animations. Well, the reason why there's so many stupid ass camera angles in this game is because they want it to look pretty and dynamic and cool, and that's why it looks like shit, right? But yeah, that's pretty much everything, right? So I mentioned give characters new moves. Here's something I can mention. A different mechanic. I would suggest we remove faultless defense and replace it with something similar to the guard mechanic in fucking Under Night. So like let's say for 25 meter, right? This will give you that 4 bars of tension you were talking about. So in guild and let's say in Strive, right? You don't have faultless defense because you don't need it anymore. But now you have this new move that will parry people away from you. So like while you're in block zone or whatever, you can activate like almost like a blitz shield, right? It's like blitz shield 2.0. You activate your blitz shield 2.0, and it pushes the opponent away. Maybe not like a parry like blitz shield, or they could just bring blitz shield back and replace it, right? I don't know why the game couldn't have blitz shield, but let's say you don't want to put blitz shield back in the game, so you push somebody back, and if like they're mashing buttons, right? Let's say they do the PK slash, assuming you have that in the fucking game. You PK slash, you push them back on K, but it still counts as a hit. So now they're about to do slash or heavy slash, and it like whiffs. It just completely whiffs because they're like a half distance away. And depending on your character, how fast they are, or their range, they can run up and do an attack. So like if you're Faust, you push them back, and then you counter while they're doing this whiff. You whiff punish them with standing slash, and it's like, oh, counter, time for me to start my combo, and you use it as a way to get a combo starter, and that way you spend meter. It's risky. It can be baited out, but it gives you the opportunity to do a combo, and it's not free because you have to do the punish, do the follow up combo, and do all this other stuff to actually get it to work after you got somebody off you in a block string. Because faultless defense, it doesn't have nearly as much pushback because they changed the way pushback worked in the game, so it's shit now because of the changes they made to it. So I mean, Lord Knight made a video talking about FD and Strive. I'm not even going to talk about it. Just watch his video. It goes in more in detail about it. Video's almost an hour as it is, right? So no one's going to watch it. But you can put stuff like that in the game. Think outside the box. The new air dash, so let's embrace the new air dash, right? It's slower, but you get to attack sooner, so you knock somebody down. You can have setups where you like dash into somebody, and let's say they like have a lot of moves that either hit in the back of a character, like they hit on both sides of a character's hitbox or whatever, it hits behind them, or they like turn around after doing it, or like you do a high jump into an air dash and you immediately do an attack. So you can have this mix up where you land in front of somebody and you're getting ready to do an attack, or you just go over their head and then you're about to like turn around and hit them in the back of the head, and that can be like a cross up mix up when you want to do pressure on somebody in the game. That could be cool, right? Like that's an opportunity that gives us something we can do with the new air dash to make it different from the last game and give the game its own identity. I still don't really agree with not having air tags and stuff in the game, but you can go for different types of combo states like ground bounce combo state. We have the wall bounce already, the skidding combo state, stuff like that. Rethink how you want to do combos, since combos are going to be based more around juggles anyway, because you don't jump in the air and like chase people into the air and slam them back down to the ground, right? So instead we should just make it about like how do we keep a character airborne. So you do a launcher, maybe you jump up and you follow them with something. You can like delay your chains in the air to see like how much hit stun you can carry the character whatever before you like carry him into a wall. So like you do slash and then just doing slash heavy slash, you do slash and then do heavy slash a little bit afterwards. To try to delay the hit stun, so every time you hit them, they pop up in the air a little bit more. So you're like trying to juggle them almost like Tekken or some shit, where every hit hits them in the air a little bit, and they go a little less high every time that you hit them, until eventually they don't go up in the air anymore, and that's how you extend your combos, and you can base your Oki off of that. I want to hit them all the way up in the air, but I'm not going to go for a follow-up. I'm going to use the extra air time to get some items out, like I'm Faust, I'm going to throw stuff out. It's going to take them longer to get to the ground, so it gets me more Oki opportunity, and now there's more shit on screen. And if you actually give characters stuff that they can do to do more Oki, whatever, like you can give May back Mr. Otter, put some balls out there or something, or maybe she I don't know has another move. Maybe she summons some of her teammates. She can have a move where she summons her crew members. I haven't seen that ever happen. That'll be new, right? Instead of summoning the dolphins, maybe she'll summon like one of her crewmates to come up and they'll like run across the screen like an assist and maybe ram their body into the opponent or some shit. It's a completely different type of attack because we're making a different type of Guilty Gear game. So it needs to embrace itself as the different type of game. That this is not your daddy's Guilty Gear. This is not your big brother's Guilty Gear. This is the new Guilty Gear. And that needs to be the angle that the game takes, because the only other way to make it more like a Guilty Gear game would be to reverse the changes already made to the game. But that defeats the whole point of making the game simpler. That defeats the whole point of making the game different. So we need to think different moves, right? Fuck it, let's give Soul like 3 different versions of Gunflame. He has the fake version, he has the regular Gunflame, and maybe he has like a charged Gunflame where he like charges his Gunflame and just shits out a big ass firewall. He can use it in neutral or something if he wants to try to play keep away. I don't know. Maybe even fucking add a dodge mechanic. I'm kind of just throwing stuff out there, but just kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I say the game needs to evolve past being nerfed Guilty Gear and needs to evolve into this is different Guilty Gear. This is the new Guilty Gear. These are mechanics that are exclusive to Strive. Only this game has this. Only this game lets you do a fucking sidestep or whatever. Only this game lets you do whatever, right? Just like how Xrd had Blitz Shield. There needs to be stuff that's exclusive to this game. I'm not even saying get rid of the Roman cancel attack thing. Like I don't really think that's bad. Yeah, it's more simplistic, but whatever, right? Like that's what they want to do with the slowdown stuff. There's some interesting stuff to go there with the slowdown. Maybe you can make it so that you can spend more meter to give yourself more slowdown, or fuck it, right? We already have slowdown, right? Like I was talking about Oki. So like you knock someone in the air, you catch me in the air. You do the Roman catch, you have to slow down. I have even more time for more Oki. I'm gonna do a super. I'm gonna have the Bendy Faust come out. He's gonna throw his shit out. I'm gonna throw my stuff out. We're gonna just layer a whole bunch of stuff, and now all of a sudden you're smothered in Oki in the corner, right? And now I'm doing all this corner pressure. Like that would be so cool. They need cool stuff in the game like that. But not what you're suggesting. Who cares what you're talking about? I only agree with like 2 of the things you talked about, and those things I know are not going to be in the game because I know the game smell. I got a big whiff of the smell of the game, and holy shit, is it bullshit blazing, right? And you want to sit up here and cap for this game so fucking hard. I think I've been on for like an hour and 30 minutes. I think that's enough. I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping it up here. But the final words on this topic are how do we fix Guilty Gear Strive with the actual name of the video, right? How do you fix it? You keep shitting on this guy that I don't know nothing about. I want to know how you fix the game. You fix the game by accepting that it's not Guilty Gear and evolving it into its own game. It needs to embrace its own identity. And no insta kills, okay, whatever. No air recovery, okay, whatever. But it needs to still be exciting and dynamic. It can't just be more simplified. It can't just be simplistic. But that's what they're going for. We have to simplify the game and make it more accessible for casuals. Instead of adding new mechanics that make the game play differently from regular Guilty Gear and make it fun and interesting and hype, it has to be slow with the slow air dash and the nerfed movement, because the old one was too difficult. You know? So, like, stop making the game for casual scrubs. And stop denying that I was right. I was right about this game. I told the truth about this fucking game. I said I wasn't going to repeat myself, but I'm sure there's stuff I said in this video that I said in this one too. I just don't fucking remember. I specifically said that accessibility was the culprit for all this shit, and that's exactly what happened. So can you stop lying already and just admit that I'm right? Alright, that's all I have to say on the matter. Where the fuck is OBS? Shut this shit off.